Welcome back to Outdoors with Larry Ray, brought to you proudly by Tennessee Wildlife Resource Agency, Barton Power Sports, Sportsman's Warehouse, and Best Care Home Services.
Oh, the orchestra is playing at Intercom Radio. Oh, man, they're stopping. The interstate just stopped. They're blocking traffic out there. Hey, folks, welcome back to Outdoors with Larry Ray on this special edition of the show held every year in the Intercom studios here. Well, all the sound padding, so we're glad that there's not anyone else here but us on Saturday mornings, because I could just imagine what Ron Olson would come running in here from 104.5 and say, what is going on in there? We sure wouldn't want Calkins or Parrish or any of those other guys come busting in here. Hey, Turkey Show. Great guest, great folks inside the studio with us this morning. Steve Turpin from the Turpin Game Call family, over 100 years, and Steve has kept that tradition going. And I really want to find out a little bit later about Steve's late mom, who was a very special person, and Steve Reynolds is also a student about her making those little feet things. I thought that was pretty cool. Steve Reynolds, a lot of you folks know Steve from his how many years were you at Baptist Hospital, Steve?
43 years.
43 years, and I knew Steve when he was just Steve. You know what I mean? On Princeton Street, you and Ann, we go hunting, pull up in the dark and go hunting and everything. And let me just say right now, I am really proud of you, fella, for your accomplishments, where you started and where you ended up and where your passions are still going right now. Active member at Trinity and loves kids and things along that line. Thank you, buddy. I appreciate you.
Thank you, Larry.
And then, of course, another guy that's been a lot in my life, is Charles Petrie. He's put me in deer blinds and left me in the dark, and then come back and I've killed a coyote. I remember that. But Charles is he'll be 80 in June.
That's right.
That's middle age for a 160-year-old man. So I just want to let you know that, So thank you. And, of course, this is for Saturday, because we got Cooksey and John Gordon.
That's right, Larry. Glad
Aren't you glad to be together? I mean,
we are,
together
man.
again.
We were together for years.
You were.
And,
yeah, y'all want to sing Willie
show.
Nelson song together again? No, that's it. Let's get out of that. No. Hey, we got two guys on the line with us right now, close dear friends of mine, and I don't mean, a lot of folks just say, oh, he's a dear friend of mine. Well, you can say that about everybody, but these two guys have been longtime friends. I mean, everybody knows my love of golf. As soon as I make that hole in low, I'm quitting. That's it. I'm walking off the course, 48 years I've been playing. I've come close, a foot one time. And if I'd had my foot wedged with me, that would have been a hole in one. But my good friend Keith Hickman from up at Paris Landing State Park, been a member of the Primos pro staff since the late 90s, which means he's been around a long time, since Will and Jimmy and all the great gang were down there, and they just got out of the restaurant business, decided to go in the call business, and look where they are now. And also we got Mike Giles from down at Meridian, Mississippi, who a fine Christian guy that I've had the chance to know through Southeastern Outdoor Press Association. He's one of those guys that was lucky enough to go to Gaston's and fish up there. And that's a privilege, and he's also been
Pretty good place.
Pretty good place.
Amen.
And he's also had a chance to work with one of the legendary outdoor riders in America, and Otha Barham. And Mike, good morning to you. Good morning to you too, Keith.
Good morning.
There we go. All right, you can tell the difference in voices here. Cause I want to talk to Keith first, and then we'll get to Mike. Keith is at an event that I was there when it started. He told me I'm still on the board of directors. I'll always be on the board of directors. It'll always be close to my heart. Is the Hunt for the Cure in Savannah, in Hardin County, and all throughout that area. And Keith, tell listeners a little bit about this. This is the opening. This is Youth Weekend. I said mistake one time. Now I said Juvenile Weekend one time, and somebody said that sounds like 201 Poplar. It's a youth weekend. And so, Keith, tell our listeners a little bit about what's going on.
Well, we got all these kids. We got right at 100 kids that's hunting.
Wow.
Most of these kids are, Larry, as you well know, are healthy kids, and they've all raised money that 100% of the proceeds go to St. Jude's Research Hospital, and it's this is our 14th year. I can't believe it's been that long.
Wow, I can't
I've
either.
been fortunate enough and healthy enough to. I was there the first time we stood on the back of that truck and raised $3,500.
I can remember. I was there too.
Yeah, and we raised over $1 million, and that just blows me away. But
turkey hunting for
it's
kids.
just been an unbelievable. The community has banded around this group up here, and what do you say? It's just been one of those success stories.
And Keith will be out this morning with a young person and taking part in this. And Keith, I know you got a real job, which I don't know how long. Being the golf director, you've been up there. How long have you been in that position?
32 years.
32 years. You were 6. I could not believe when you started that. Did you just
32
your
years.
first clubs?
Yep.
So tell us about your love of turkey hunting and how.
Well, I grew up in West Tennessee.
Yeah.
I actually grew up like a lot of people. There wasn't any turkeys where I grew up.
There you go. We talked about this. See that, guys? Yeah.
Yeah, in Trenton, Tennessee. I grew up bird hunting behind a pair of bird dogs, and when I moved to Paris Landing, back in the 80s, the birds were kind of leaving, and so I picked up turkey hunting, and I just fell in love with it and kind of took the spot of the passion of the bird hunting. So that's kind of how I got introduced to turkey hunting.
And you've had it ever since?
Ever since. Can't shake it.
Well, I know that it's – so what makes it that thrill for you? What's I like –
Well, it's been, the gobble. If they didn't gobble, I probably wouldn't hunt them. But,
oh, really?
Once you get into it, then kind of sharing the love of it. I've been so fortunate through Primos and meeting people, like Steve Turpin. I probably wouldn't never met him if it hadn't been for Primos. But
there you go,
meeting
Steve.
the people and then getting to travel the country and just got friends everywhere because I turkey hunted, and that never would have happened. That just wouldn't have happened.
Well, I know Mike Giles, you're listening as Keith talks a little bit about this, and I know you got a great passion for kids, and because I know you do a lot of seminars for Bass Pro as one of their team members, and
that's right.
And to bring kids into the sport, I know when I killed my first bird with a child, I didn't kill it; the child killed it. It meant more to me than me. Killing my first bird, and I know you still get that kick too, don't you, Mike?
That's right. It never gets old.
Well, tell us about.
I like to call them.
You like to call them. Now, let's give us some call. Now, Mike is one of those rare individuals. Y'all ready for this? I'm sorry, Turpin. I'm sorry, Petrie over there. He don't need any of y'all products. I'm sorry. I mean, it's the man is a man of vocalization. So let's hear a little bit of music this morning from you, Mike.
Hey, I'll do that, but I do have to point this out. I hunted against a poacher last year, and I had to use low calls. And one of the calls I also used in addition to my own voice was a Turpin yelper.
Oh, there
and
you go.
I'd never used one of those. I got one from Steve 2 years ago, and it helped bring him in.
Wow. Okay, let's hear some music then.
And that's a little sample.
Oh, man, I know when you were a kid and you were in the first grade and you did that in the classroom for the first time, the teacher said, this boy's going someplace, but not in here, so.
Well, hey, if I'd have done that, I'd have probably been thrown out of school, but I can tell you when I get inside of churches or public areas and even Bass Pro and I start yelping, owl hooting, or gobbling, people will come. They come looking to see what's going on.
Oh, well, they want to know what's going on, and so you've already had some success, I understand. Thursday morning, you got one.
That's exactly right. I'm gonna give you the quick. We had some of these turkeys that they were here yesterday, and so I'm standing on that spot. The holler, I was on a different place, and I heard them. I get there this morning, I don't hear them, so I owl hooted about a quarter till. I barely could hear one. Long story short, they were roosted about 1.25 miles across a cutover, and I hoofed it on up there.
Hoofed it.
And I found out they were still roosted. I hit them one time with my Albert Paul box call. They answered. I got set up, and I heard 4 or 5 of them gobbling. I mean, they were gobbling to beat the band.
Oh.
And, I don't like to give them a whole lot. But I went to give a low yelp after my initial thing about 10, 15 minutes later.
Yeah.
And one gobbled right over the knoll from me.
Oh.
And for the next 10 minutes, I heard them spitting and drumming. And finally, of course, I couldn't move, had my gun up.
Yeah.
And I just did the real low like that.
Uh-huh.
And over the rise it came for the last time.
Oh, well, I know I got a good friend out of Bolivar, Tennessee named Robert Clift. Makes those bike calls called The Last Call. And
yes.
Because that's the last time they're going to hear it. Isn't that right, Charles Petrie?
Absolutely.
I mean, he's a master at that, and to hear that. And I know, Keith, you remember your first, you said you killed your first, how old were you when you killed your first turkey? Keith, you awake now? Have we put you to sleep?
Oh, me?
Yeah, okay.
I
thought I heard you snoring in there a little bit, but...
Oh, no, I was just listening. I was 29 when I finally killed my first. 29?
Wow.
Yeah.
That's close.
Wow.
That's close to me. My 55. So I'm from Arkansas. We kind of judge it like that. 29 and 55 sound pretty. You only pull that thing in front of your mouth when I'm afraid that's what's going to come out of it.
I want to say Mike said something earlier people need to pay attention to.
All right.
When he crossed that cutover and set up on those birds, he set up with a little knoll in front of him. Birds couldn't see him.
That's
they
right.
couldn't see a hen. He didn't have to have a decoy in that situation or anything else. When that bird crested the knoll, where he could see where he was looking, he killed him.
Yeah.
And that's a huge tip if people would think about when they set up. Take your time, set up where when you see the bird, you can kill him.
Did you also hear that he had his gun ready, too?
That's pretty important.
That's a very important thing. You don't start pulling it up when they're coming over the knoll, so to speak. And
that's right. Knowing your land, the lay of the land. I knew where I couldn't go any further, and I sat down on my rear, drew my knees up, and had my gun over my leg.
So, do you carry a lot into the woods? Are you a panhandler like me?
No, I like to have some basic things. This time of year, I do wear it was an old Bucklet Creek turkey vest, and it's got a little thing when you put it down, you don't have to be leaned up against a tree.
Ah, okay.
And that was important. These pines were about anywhere from 4 to 6 foot,
Yeah.
And still high enough if you get on the knoll, you can look all the way across it. It's still sparse, but I want to have a slate, a box, and maybe a mouth call, and I carry my Turpin call now, and but I don't use too much of anything.
Yeah.
And when I get in close, I'll use my natural voice.
Well, I know my stalking days are over. I'm overstocked. So I've become I've got a new blind that just came out. It's called the Deception. It's really a low. It's a low blind that you can sit in and not look like something that's giant sitting out in the woods. And
wow.
Our good friends at Mossy Oak have come up with that. It's called the Deception. So I recommend that for any retirees out there who don't get around like they have. I remember the first time I went with Turpin. I was fairly young then, but I was a mile behind before we ever started. I did not know that guy could move that fast. And then of course everything else. I think and we get back to Keith there, killing his first at 29. Did you have any idea that would instill that what you would call compassion or obsession, as Steve Reynolds said? Huh?
Because I hunted all that spring and finally killed him in the LBL at the 1st of May. So I had been hunting them on and off that first year pretty hard. So I knew I was going to be hooked if I ever killed one.
LBL, we got to talk about that, guys, in the studio. That's a lot of people kill their first turkey on LBL. I kept getting drawn, Natchez and Trace and all those places, and I would drive 2 hours to get up there and do those kind of things. And but it was the experience. Everybody wanted to get drawn for LBL at that time. Now, the last time I went to Shelby Forest, I ran into a guy that didn't like me being there. Steve Turpin, it might have been related to you. I don't know, but this guy did not like me being in his spot. And I didn't know I was in his spot. I was in a spot. So hunting private land, hunting public land, whatever it might be, today's equipment, and we'll talk about this. I mean, I know we still got Turpin's calls, we got Plain Janes, we got these things, but the basics is still awareness, being able to see. If a turkey could smell, what would we say? Steve, never kill one if he could smell, and that's true, right? I mean, but the eyesight, and I used to be a squirmer. I don't squirm near as much anymore. My squirming days are over too. I just like to sit and wait and do those kind of things. So, setup. Let's talk with Keith about that. Setup, Keith. Are you a man that goes the day before and try to find it, or do you have areas that you hunt that you pretty well know?
I do a lot of preseason scouting. Yeah, and I've been fortunate enough to have some pretty good places through the years. I've met a lot of people who've been kind enough to lease some places. So I don't do a lot of walking through the woods before season. I do all my scouting from a distance.
Yes,
and I kind of know where they're wanting to be before they want to be there. So that's kind of my scouting. That's kind of the way I prefer to do it.
All right. Well, I know that the last part of this thing we're going to ask, what's the closest any one of you guys have ever killed a turkey? Huh?
You asking me?
I'm asking both of y'all. What's the closest you've killed a turkey? Keith?
I had one. I was going to say I had one at about 10 steps one time because he was gobbling up in the woods, and we had the cutover border in there, and it was small pines by then, 4 or 5 foot, and I had to back into a windrow. And I backed into that windrow, and this turkey comes out of there and up that little road, and he didn't get to me before he started peeking in that thing and started going down it looking for me. And
10 steps.
He just caught me in a place he had to get on top of me before I could shoot him.
How about you, Keith?
Well, I'm surprised you asked that because it might have been last week in Florida. I had one that come around a corner down there out of a orange grove through a palmetto thicket.
Yeah.
And he was about 10 steps. He got right on me before I could do anything.
Well,
I was fortunate enough to kill him.
Well, the closest I've ever come to one was it gobbled in my ear. Of course, I didn't shoot it, but you can ask Ty Inman. He still talks about that story that came up on my left side. I'm shooting. I shoot left-handed, and we knew it was back there. And the next thing, I still think I could smell that turkey's breath, and it came up and right in my ear right there. And Ty said, shoot! I got to check my pants first here. I mean, it scared me to death. I didn't think I was going to make it through it, but anyway, guys, thank you for being with us. Appreciate both of you guys and longtime friends, and hope y'all have a successful season, and God bless both of y'all, okay?
Thank you.
Thank you, Larry.
Y'all have a good one.
Close it out, guys. There they go. All right. We'll be right back.